Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, viewers to Mappin's Channel 5. Welcome to another program on Iron Sports this evening. I have in my company here in studio the president of the Dominica Olympic Committee, and tonight we will be discussing on Iron Sports this evening the signs and symbols and of course the values of the Olympic Committee. What does those signs mean, and how we as an organization or the Dominica Olympic Committee deals on a national and international level with those signs. In studio with me, like I said, is a member of the executive of the Dominica Olympic Committee. We should be joined later by another member of the executive committee. And we're asking you folks to join us in the discussion. We are going to take a quick break at this time for station identification and a word from our sponsors. We will be right back.
The Dominica Olympic Committee has a vision to secure medals at an Olympic Games and to bring honor and recognition to the nation. And DOC is on a mission to promote Olympism and protect the independence of the Olympic movement, represent the International Olympic Committee, live the principles and values of the Olympic movement, develop and protect athletes, promote women in sport, anti-doping, fair play, sport for all, the environment and culture, non-discrimination and education. Our logo, national colors, red, black and green. Red 10%, black 30%, forest green 60%. Support the Dominica Olympic Committee and engender national pride.
The website of the Dominica Olympic Committee, www.doc.dm.
Welcome back to this very special program, of course, on Iron Sports. This evening we are discussing Olympic signs and symbols and Olympic values. Like I said, in the studio here with me is an executive member of the Dominica Olympic Committee. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. Of course, he needs maybe no introduction, but Mr. Wilson, the floor is yours.
Yes, you say I need no introduction. I always need an introduction. As president of the Dominica Olympic Committee, I think probably most persons would know that. But then your program, I think, would extend beyond our shores. Okay? Yeah. Yes, we are talking tonight about signs, symbols, and Olympic values.
Yes.
Because we, the Dominica Olympic Committee, are on a continuous drive to educate persons about Olympism and the Olympic movement, of which we form with 204 other nations in the world. We are part of it, and a significant part of it with reference to being Dominicans as nationals. So we expected the General Secretary to be here with us, but probably he ran into some problems, but we will continue. Yes. And I hope that I can give as much information about signs, symbols, and values of the Olympic movement.
Let me ask you to begin with, Mr. Wilson. What, in your mind, would be some of the signs of the Olympic Committee that would pertain specifically to Dominica?
Well, not necessarily pertain to Dominica, to pertain to all countries that are nations that are affiliated with the International Olympic Committee. And they are affiliated in the sense that autonomous bodies exist in each country called National Olympic Committees. Okay, yes. That forms part of the Olympic movement, and we can also speak of international federations, which will be responsible for national associations or federations, which we can talk about. We did in the first program address that issue. Okay. But I'm here saying that the signs, let's say, and symbols of the Olympic movement is very much recognized. For example, everybody in the world, I would say, and that is how many billions we may have in the world, approaching some, what is it, 5 or 6 billion, or it's projected to be 7 billion soon. Okay. But there it is. Whenever one sees those 5 rings, they know that represents Olympics and the Olympic movement, the 5 rings. And the 5 rings, the significance of the 5 rings, in fact, the founder of the modern Olympic game came up with the idea of these 5 rings. How he got colors in the flags of many nations. And those colors were blue, yellow, black, green, and red. So these are very common colors in people's
in
flags. Yes. So that was what Pierre de Coubertin. Okay. How 5, but now it has more significance. It represents, more importantly, 5 continents. Each ring represents a continent. And they are interlocked, as if to show the unity among nations. Yes. Okay. So the 5 rings were not to depict groups of people. Let's say the black to represent Africa. No. Or the blue. I don't know of anybody who is blue in the world, except when you get vexed, you may get blue. But this was not to represent people, humanity, but to represent the 5 continents, and they were typified with those primary colors of blue, yellow, black, green, and red. But the rings, if you look at them, are all interlocked, showing that binding, the unity among nations.
Tell us a little.
Well, then I should say there are other symbols. There are other signs and symbols.
Yes.
Okay. For example, these rings are placed on a white cloth, you may say, and that constitutes the Olympic flag. Okay. So you can identify the Olympic movement by a white flag, and superimposed on that white flag are the 5 rings, or the 5 colors. Then you have the Olympic flame.
The torch.
Well, let's talk about the anthem first. There is an Olympic anthem. Okay. And we can also mention the Olympic motto. And that is significant. The Olympic motto has some 3 Greek words that I will say to you. They mean Citius, Altius, and Fortius.
Citius, Altius, and Fortius.
That's the Olympic motto. And what that simply means is faster, higher, and stronger. Okay. Okay. And I like that because it relates to the mind and the body. Okay. And the effort one has to put into being an athlete in any sport.
Yes.
Okay. You need to be
training,
you need to be fast.
The body,
fast,
the muscles,
yes,
etc.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So, for example, things like high jump is where people go higher. But most of the sports that we take part in, for example, volleyball, people have to jump to spike. Okay. So this has significance. Then there is the anthem, the words of which we could address a little later, as well as the flame and the torch.
Yes. Tell us a little about the flame.
The flame.
It's something we observe that goes around annually or periodically whenever there is specific events. And so tell us a little more about that.
The International Olympic Committee has a vested interest in a flame that is, you may say, perpetual in Greece. Okay? And there I should correct what we said in the first program. Well, I must have said that. I made mention of Marathon and Athens as well, not Athens necessarily. I said Marathon was in Italy. The truth of it, the modern Olympics, it started some 100 years ago from the tradition of the Greeks. And in Athens, that's the cornerstone. But a flame is lit there, and it is kept burning, paid for by the IOC, and there's a memorandum of understanding with Athens and that flame is a symbolic fire about the games, the effort and energy put into games. The torch, however, and you spoke about the torch relay.
Yes.
The torch is something that each organizing committee or city for the games, the Olympic Games, for example, London. London had a symbolic torch, and that torch would be lit first in Athens, or Olympia, rather. It will be lit there, and then it will journey from all countries to arrive on the opening day of the Olympic Games, be it winter or summer games, in the organizing city.
Of course, and by then it will be still lighting, I guess.
Yeah, it should be.
It should be still lighting. Nothing is putting off the flames.
Yes, okay.
Okay. It's very interesting that you mentioned that, because I have seen this in Dominica, and you know, there was one time, I think, a number of journalists were at the airport welcoming the arrival of the...
it wasn't necessarily the Olympic, but it was the Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth Games, the Commonwealth Federation mimic that sort of exercise. So for the Commonwealth countries, which I think amounts to about 71 with associated states, etc., 71, that journeyed last year all around the world, in the Commonwealth world, then to Glasgow, Scotland. So it's the same kind of symbolism, a torch for the Commonwealth Games with a flame.
Okay.
But the one for Olympics is unique. It's unique.
It is unique.
Unique in the sense that that tradition started, and it symbolizes the Olympic movement, and has been done for many years. More than 100 years.
Over 100 years.
Yes.
That is interesting. It's very, you know, knowledgeable or informative that I could learn some of those things which I am practically, you know, new, if you want to say it, too. In the sense that, you know, I mean, in terms of the level of discussion that we are having now.
Yes.
Although I have been following sports and following Olympic events throughout, you know, the years. But we're going to take a short break for word from identification. We'll be right back.
The Dominica Olympic Committee has a vision to secure medals at an Olympic Games and to bring honor and recognition to the nation. And DOC is on a mission to promote Olympism and protect the independence of the Olympic movement, represent the International Olympic Committee, live the principles and values of the Olympic movement, develop and protect athletes, promote women in sport, anti-doping, fair play, sport for all, the environment and culture, non-discrimination and education. Our logo: national colors, red, black, and green. Red, 10%, black, 30%, forest green, 60%. Support the Dominica Olympic Committee and engender national pride.
The website of the Dominica Olympic Committee, www.doc.dm.
Back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for staying with us. Thank you for viewing. Before the break, we were speaking about the Olympic torch and other Olympic symbols. Mr. Wilson, tell us a little more of the Olympic signs that we can note about.
Well, I did make mention of most of the signs, like, for example, the rings, the flag itself, you may describe as a sign, and the flame and the torch. All these you may describe as Olympic signs or symbols, etc. And what I could also say to you is that national representatives of the International Olympic Committee themselves would have their signs and symbol, but with every one of the countries, whatever you depict, as your sign, then you would have to incorporate the rings. Now the rings are the sole property of the IOC. So nobody can take these rings and sell it to make profit, good, or for commercial or advertising purposes. Without the express permission of the IOC. Now we have our own symbol, that is the symbol where you, the logo, you may say, of the Dominican Olympic Committee, two of our Cicero parrot holding up the map of Dominica. And beneath there you see the rings. Some countries put the rings at the top, some at the bottom, but whenever that symbol for Dominica is unique. No other country will have a similar thing. But the ring is, you may say, for all national Olympic committees to use as part of being part of the Olympic movement.
Let's talk a little now about some of the Olympic values.
Yes.
We have been speaking quite a lot about the rings and so. Tell us, what are some of the values that the Olympians should uphold generally? Not
Olympians alone. Let me just say the Olympic values, you may say, are universal. Okay. It's universal. It's not to say that only Olympic come up with those values. You should appreciate that a value is an intellectual concept, not necessarily something that is unique to one group, organization, etc. And hence, a value is very difficult to explain, except that there are three prominent values that the International Olympic holds.
Yes.
Is excellence, friendship, and respect. And under excellence, that value where the Olympic movement is asking persons to do their best, strive for the best,
Yes.
It's not all about winning, it's about participation. And so many times, many countries go to the Olympic Games, they don't win a medal.
Yes.
I mean, I know countries that have been at the Olympic Games for 50 years or more and have never won a medal. In fact, India took more than 50 years to win a medal, and eventually I think they won bronze in weightlifting, etc.
But the determination to participate, the determination to strive.
Yes, is what is important in terms of excellence. And essentially, we are pushing the idea of being strong in body, mind, and will. So, the determination to go on, to strive for the best.
You have to train hard, you have to make the sacrifice to be on the ball,
so
rain or shine.
That in itself is an honorable value, you may say. If you I don't know if you attended the Dominica Grammar School, I should slip that in here. Dominica Grammar School motto is mens sana in corpore sano. A strong mind in a healthy body. So you see the link. You see the link there in terms of excellence. Friendship, and lo and behold, when Olympics were held in the olden days, particularly in Greece, all nations would stop fighting. No, it was manageable because there were few nations, and even few nations who had armies, and everybody would decide we would put down our arms and let's be friends. And compete, etc. So friendship really refers to peacefulness, you may say, or peace, solidarity, team spirit, joy, optimism in sport. The same is being asked, but you may tell me that while we were having Olympic Games for probably the past 2 Olympic Games, there was a war in Iraq, in Afghanistan. It still goes on, raging. We wish that they would have stopped during the Olympic Games. So that friendship, it also inspire people to overcome political, economic, gender, racial, religious differences and to forge friendship. And for the athletes, it means forming lifelong friends. Because when they meet at an Olympic Games, they become real good friends. They bond with their mates and even their competitors.
Ideas, emails, etc.
The last value is respect. And that sells itself. It represents the principle which should inspire all those who take part in the Olympic Games in that respect of oneself,
Yes.
your respect of your body, respect of others, respect rules and the environment. Okay, and what that gives is it refers to a respect to fair play attitude, and athletes should have in participating, and their commitment to avoid doping.
Yes.
So these are the major values of the Olympic movement. But they have some amplification of those values. I can just mention them: non-discrimination, sustainability, humanism, okay, universality, solidarity, and alliance between sports, education, and culture. So those will expand values.
Alliance between sports, education, and culture. It's interesting that you mentioned that. We have been told that a number of athletes now doing well have to also be sound academically. I guess that would be part of the whole attainment, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you're probably referring to athletes being offered scholarships, etc.
Generally.
Yes. Or generally. And what does sports do? Sports develop acumen. Okay. Yes. Sometimes if you are not fit, you don't think straight. That's a basic human fact. That is, the fitter you are, the more likely you are to excel, to do well. It doesn't mean that all athletes are
doing well and
Einstein.
excelling.
No,
Okay.
that's not the purpose. But it means that sports go hand in hand with education, and many athletes, young athletes, are encouraged that if they were to get, say, sports scholarship, they should have at least a reasonable level of
physical fitness,
and mental fitness, education, etc.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Some countries, I should tell you, from those three main values of the Olympic movement and
Yes.
those that amplify. For example, I just choose Canada. Canada would have in some of their values fun. They see sports as a fun thing. Respect, yes, we've said that. Access to all. That is also embraced by the Olympic movement. Fair play, we mentioned. Inclusion. Okay? So
Yes.
sometime when the cricket field, football field, a fattish fella comes, or girl, and we sort of ignore them because we figure that they shouldn't be taking part. But they are the ones that should be taking part
Yes,
to get
to
fit and trim.
reduce, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Self-confidence, self-esteem, positive role models. That's what sportsmen should be. And hence the business of, you see, Lance Armstrong was a positive role model for not only cyclists, but for sports persons generally. He involved in doping in disgrace. And that brings major consequences to the individual, countries, and the world, you may say.
Okay. Doping is something that has been of concern to all sporting organizations and institutions.
Yes.
And I think it's a concern to your institution as well. Any brief comments?
Well, just simply to say that a little disappointed because we expected on this program to have had our little advert, which would there be promoting our present-day athletes. Those we hope will be going to Rio in the next Olympics.
Okay.
And unfortunately, there must have been a mix-up in the administration, and hence we did not see that lovely ad that we
hope
worked with mapping to have tonight. But
okay,
next
folks,
next month.
we're going to take an ad break. We'll be right back.
The Dominica Olympic Committee has a vision to secure medals at an Olympic Games and to bring honor and recognition to the nation. And DOC is on a mission to promote Olympism and protect the independence of the Olympic movement, represent the International Olympic Committee, live the principles and values of the Olympic movement, develop and protect athletes, promote women in sport, anti-doping, fair play, sport for all, the environment and culture, non-discrimination and education. Our logo, national colors, red, black, and green. Red, 10%, black, 30%, forest green 60%. Support the Dominica Olympic Committee and engender national pride.
The website of the Dominica Olympic Committee, www.doc.dm.
Yeah, well, we just talk generally.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for viewing. We are, of course, discussing a very special Ion Sports program, Signs and Symbols of the Olympic Committee and the values thereof. Time is of the essence, like I said, and we are about to wind up shop at this minute. Mr. Wilson, tell us anything else that you want to say in terms of...
Well, what I'd like to do is, I made mention of the Olympic anthem.
Yes.
And what you'll recognize is that at every Olympic Games, there are flags of all the participating nations in the stadium, right up in the stadium for everyone to see. And there is always an opening ceremony. Now that, I'm telling you, not only is picturesque, but it's also very important to the Olympic movement. When your athletes enter the stadium, the flag is shown, the focus on the flag, and the national anthem of that country is played. You know. Also, if your country were to win a medal and go to the podium to receive, the flag is raised, and your national anthem. So all that symbolism is to me unifying, enriching, and really shows the highest level of humanity when those things happen. We are hoping that one day Dominica flag will be raised at the podium and one of our athletes receive a medal.
Your closing comments?
The closing comments would be, I would like probably to read the Olympic anthem quickly. Yes. There is time for that, I would think. It goes like this. Immortal spirit of antiquity, Father of the true, beautiful, and good, descend, appear, shed over us thy light. Upon this ground and under this sky, which has first witnessed thy unperishable fame, give life and animation to those noble games. Throw wreaths of fadeless flowers to the visitors, in the race and in the strife. Create in our breasts hearts of steel. In thy light, plains, mountains, and seas shine in a rosette hue and form a vast temple, to which all nations throng to adore thee, O immortal spirit of antiquity. So that is the motto. And that is played to a song, which we don't have now, but that, I can say to you, that song is immortal, you may say. Immortal. You hear it. Anytime we listen to the Olympic Games, you hear that song with the anthem, and it inspires.
Okay, can you tell us briefly when we expect the next Olympic meet?
The next Olympic Games will be in Rio, Brazil, in 2016, from early August to you will say 3/4. The Olympic Games usually spans over a period of 2.5 weeks. Okay. So for early August in 2016. But what I should say to you, and that is what you will be involved in as a TV company, the CBI, that's the Caribbean Broadcasting Initiative, which has been organized by the Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committee, will be getting a direct feed from the Olympic Games so that Dominicans will be able to see Dominicans athletes. So we no longer will have to wait on NBC. It is the major broadcasting and used to have the sole rights for everything. Now we have secured, as Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committee, we've secured the rights from the IOC, and each territory affiliated to the to CANOC, Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committee, will be able to project at mapping at the other TV stations, because you don't want me to advertise the other TV station, and we'll be seeing Dominicans, if they reach the semi-finals and finals, even more so, more airtime. But we will be seeing our athletes as we never saw them before.
Okay. I want to thank you very much for coming here this evening and sharing those insights with us. And I want to wish you and the Dominica Olympic Committee very much success in your future endeavors. Just to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. We have come to the end of this program, and it's left for me to say thank you for viewing. Errol Thomas, have a good night.